Okay, when I had this set up again, I was like, I'm sure I'm going to be in camera. But I'm in camera now. It's almost like I've never went live before. I was knocking things over and that other one is now deleted. But hey everybody, it's me, Derek the Chocolate Botanist. Tell me what y'all are doing. We're back. It's almost like I was here. I should have cut this light on. Let me open up these blinds. Don't y'all talk about the craziness going on when I walk off of the screen. There's a little bit of craziness back here. Don't talk about me real bad. There we go. That's a little better. Tell me what y'all are up to. You need help. Pulse with a purpose. What you need help? What you need help with? So I'm going to be doing some propagations. Side note. This is Dip and Grow. This is a new concentrate I've never tried before. I went to 5th season in like Chapel Hill, Carborough, and I bought it and I'm going to try it out. So this is your opportunity to talk to a plant biologist and ask me any question that you've ever wanted to ask, and I can talk about anything. There we go. So we got a question already from Pulse with a Plant. I got a plant that I got in a glass globe. Do I need to change the water? Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. Depends on how the water looks. If the water looks kind of murky, and I don't have a good example up here, because this water Derek poured out yesterday apparently and never filled it back up. Good job, Derek. If your water looks murky, if it looks nasty, then yeah, you want to cut it or you want to refill that water back up. But we're going to be propagating a silver sword philodendron, which I got from Plant Proper maybe 3 to 5 years ago. And this is a part of one of the canes, one of the stems, that is looking a little rough. It broke. So yeah, it's just roots in there, no dirt. Your water doesn't have to be dirty, have dirt in it to be murky. It could just be buildup of the phytochemicals kind of pushing out, phyto meaning plant, chemical meaning chemical, pushing out into the water. It could be algae and fungi buildup. It could be anything. So I would say if you don't have to change it and it's drinking up quick enough, you can just fill it back up. But it is what it is. Let's see, we got Brown Sugar. Says I have a plant with yellow leaves and green. Am I watering too much? You know, if I didn't know you, I would say yeah. But since I do know you, I'm going to say you might not be watering consistently. So, ooh, this is just breaking. So before I answer that question to her, this is very mushy. And I'm wearing rubber gloves because the chemical I'm going to be using to do some propagations says you don't need to get it on your skin. It says to wear like long sleeves and cover your body. I'm not doing all of that. But this is real mushy. So this is actually going to be bad. You can kind of see these bad insides. You see how that's not green and living? So we're going to just compost that, which is sad. So we're going to keep going. But to answer Brown Sugar, you might be watering too much. I tell people, as I know I've told you, you take your finger, you stick it in the soil. When it's wet on like an epiprenum or a pothos, then you leave it be. If it's not wet, then you water. But yellowing leaves can also be a sign of like your light not being good enough or being too much light. It could be, yellowing could be a lot of different things. Advice on growing fruit trees indoors. All of my attempts have been duds. Fruit trees, when you're doing anything that's like a heavy creating plant inside, you're going to want to, there we go. When you're doing something like that, like a fruit tree, this is also super mushy. So this is going to also go. When you're doing something like a fruit tree inside, and this was a very long stem side note as I answer this question. Like I at one point had this like wrapped around me in a video, and I might have posted up. So I'm just going to cut, and I'm going to cut, this was a piece, so it would have been growing like this, coming and growing out this way. So I'm going to cut just to get it even, like right here above the node. And this node is where there's kind of like a sectional break. And we see those roots. I'm going to cut like that so I can get some good pieces and then propagate them. But fruit trees, when you're trying to grow them, you need a lot of light. You need great situations to be able to grow them indoors. So you just can't be like, I'm going to treat it like my snake plant. Because your snake plants can handle that variety. They're not trying to produce and take the energy that it needs to produce fruit, right? Your snake plants, like all these behind me are propagates, but the snake plants are just growing leaves and a rhizome versus a tree that needs to grow not only the roots to be able to suck up all the nutrients and the flesh of the trunks and the leaves to be able to take in all that energy needed, but then all that energy needed to grow fruit, sexual reproduction, pollination, all that stuff, that takes energy, right? Just like if you're going out and you're trying to date somebody, you just can't go out, some of us can't just go out and be like, boom, people, sex me, and they just come up on you. You have to work for that, and your plants have to work for that, and that environment needs to be great. Great light, great humidity. The light cycle needs to be great. Like if you're growing certain plants, they may want 12 hours of light, 12 hours off, or they may not care. You need to be able to do all of that. There's a lot of questions coming up here. So I'm going to go back to propagating real quick, and I'm going to answer some more questions. Okay? We're going to cut. And I'm just going to cut these pieces and set them to the side. Y'all can still answer your questions. I'm going to have to scroll back up at one point. So, y'all tell me what y'all doing on this Sunday. We're going to pretend like that first live didn't happen. Because I still got to mix this concentrate together, which I was going to do on this live. I don't have the thing over here with me. But this stuff, dip and grow. I had some mixed together yesterday, but it said you shouldn't keep it longer than 10 hours. And that would have been, at this point, almost 20. So I didn't want to break the rules. And I'm going to try a couple of different rooting media that I have here, or rooting hormones that I have. Rooting hormones are literally like what the plants need in order to grow. They have their own set of hormones that they can create. And I wonder if I can show y'all the difference in this flesh here. So this one looks real happy. You see how white and green that is? This is a real good video. There we go. Look at that. It's almost focusing. You see how that looks clear? But look at this one. There's a difference. The one that I'm holding like directly at you is kind of dying. The one that's not is okay. This one may not make it. Okay? This one may be going up yonder. Somebody cut on Tremaine Hawkins. Let's see what these other questions got. Okay. Fruit trees indoors, we did that one. Just roots in there. Any advice on, no, we did that one already. Best way to propagate moringa. I feel like somebody asked me that before. I've not worked with moringa. I don't know. My best thing to tell you for moringa would be to go to Cooperative Extension. Hit up your local Cooperative Extension office if you are a place where they grow moringa like South Carolina. Or Google like Cooperative Extension moringa and then see what they say. So you can get like a legit way of like, do you need hardwood or softwood? Because I've not even grown the plant. I've never worked with it. I've had some moringa tea, but that's it. Okay, we're gonna keep going. Can I use neem oil to rid my baby mango trees of powdery mildew? How do I prevent it? I keep them inside. I feel like I've seen that neem is supposed to be a fungicide, but I've not used it for that, so I cannot give you good, like, true blue advice on that. For powdery mildews and issues like that, I've used fungicides or peroxide, just a typical black 3% peroxide, but that's been on like soil even, and not on the actual surface of your plant, like the actual leaf tissue and the stems of your plant. So I don't have an answer for you. Fungicides would be where I would start, but even growing your fruit trees indoors, I would wonder if your space is too humid or too wet where they got that mildew in the first place. Like I would start to even track back, how did this mildew get in, and what can I change about my space culturally? Meaning, without using a chemical, what can I impact as far as the environment is concerned to make powdery mildew be less of an issue? Okay, I'm answering questions. I moved my plant to another wall. Could this be why the leaves are yellowing and green? It could be, because you know, it's funny Brown Sugar 145 is asking this, because I have an aunt who had tended to move her plants every which way but loose. If the plant showed, just like some of you do, if the plant showed any sign of issue, or she just was like, you know what, I really want it for the decor, for the vibes, very demure, very responsible, very respectable, she would move it over to some other wall. And some of your plants, when you're moving them here and there and everywhere, you may not be keeping a mindful idea of what could be negatively impacting your plants. Is there a wall vent or a ceiling vent rather above that plant where you've moved it at? Is the light completely different because you moved it from one room to another? And there's one that's used to this one space where it was doing beautiful. It didn't need to move, but you moved it because you were like, I just want to look at it out here. You take a chance. You take a chance when you change all that space around. All of my plants that you generally see out here in the living room kitchen area where you see me at, is under all of this purple light that is grow lights. And then I have a grow light in like these babies over here, these lamps. But there's so many grow lights in here. So they're good throughout the year. The second bed, or the bedroom where if I show you that other greenhouse or the little aquarium, they're just sitting still. I don't change, I don't move them often. If I'm moving them, it's because I've propped them and they're just moving out of one area to another in the same space, or I'm giving them away. And even then I try to like shock them a little bit so they don't look bad for y'all. I hope that answers your question. You shouldn't move your plants if you can avoid it. Just got a blubber to start a batch of BioGreen. A bubber? To start a batch of BioGreen Plus. Go ahead, bubber. I don't know what that is. I have a question about getting into herbology. This person's asking about herbology. Do you know anything about that? And if so, how do I start? I'm a med biochem and I want to get more into the scientific side of stuff. So that would be more ethnobotany. Somebody can type it in the comments. ETHNO botany. BOTANYMOUSE. So you do that. Ethnobotany, and you can learn some of the, depending on what program they have, you can learn some of the lore behind plants and then some of the chemistry behind plants depending on the class. So at NC State, I took a plant civilizations class, and that taught me like lore and history of like plants moving people and like how we got cornflakes and like why witches ride brooms and stuff like that. When it came to the science of it all, I took a medicinal botany class, a medicinal plants class with Dr. Dayu Z at North Carolina State, and he taught about the chemistry. So he talked about the lore, the Ayurveda, the traditional Chinese medicine, and then the science of it, like what we see, if anything. So that's how I would suggest looking into that at a university level and seeing what universities carry that course near you or who has it online, which I would imagine a lot of them are online or not online, because the botany people sometimes be a little behind when it comes to this technology. I'd really hate to cut this baby up, but I need to. Okay, I got some fresh moringa tea for you if you want some. I will take any free tea you have as long as I have a connection with you, because some of y'all be trying to poison me, I'm sure. Some of y'all want me for my body, and y'all are trying to drug me and give me a Rufus. And I pass out at my front door, and you think you're going to get one over on me. Another thing coming you got. Yeah, send me the tea, DM me. Is the still water bad for plants? No, not necessarily. If you are using that because that's just what you drink, then like go for it. But other than that, I would say just, unless your tap water is like terrible, like heavy metal terrible, even that, it had to be like super terrible, then like use your tap water. Like my tap water here has only been bad, and it's been years. I feel like the government is listening or something. There was one time, it used to be at the beginning of every year, my tap water would come out basically like bleach, because they would do a system of a cleaning of the water system. And when they're doing that, they use a chlorine-like chemical or chlorine chemical that basically goes through and cleans them. But I guess I'm close enough to where they initially put that in. Or they just went heavy one year. They didn't. I looked it up and I could never find anything confirming it. But my water literally came out like bleach, like smelling like bleach one year, no lie. And all my plants were just going. Lost so many plants. So, you know, I mean, that's something you don't have to worry about. You are welcome, Brown Sugar 145. Maybe I'll see that plant when I'm in New Bern next. The mango trees got the mildew outside, so I brought them in to try to control the humidity and temp. So if you had them outside and they had the powdery mildew, if you see like a disease, an insect, an infestation on your babies, don't move them if you can avoid it. Like if you just have to, like when you're in a greenhouse or something, a controlled environment, then yes, move them or whatever. But if you're not, leave them where they are, get a fungicide, and just fungicide it up. There are so many fungicides you could just spray it on them babies. And I know a lot of you are like, I don't want any fungicides, I don't want any chemicals, I just want to grow my plants natural. But as you're seeing, it can be so difficult to do that. So, yeah, I'm answering questions, party people. Our tap water is contaminated in Missouri. I didn't hear about that. They stored nuclear stuff. I've never heard about that. Y'all have contaminated water in Missouri? And if you use it in a humidifier, it's in the air, which means you're breathing it in. I have a lot of questions. And again, this is my baby here, my silver sword philodendron. I just want to propagate some of these houseplants. I may sell them, I may give some away. But this one, this original stem right here, this original cane, was so beautiful. But I've lost humidity at one point, and I'm trying to get it back now. So I was like, let me just prop these other ones versus trying to get them back. But to the person who was like, here we go, pulse with a purpose, if you have contaminated water, and this is just for any of you, when you are using a humidifier, if it's an ultrasonic or a just regular humidifier, you are either using some type of vibrational pulse to put water particles into the air, or the typical humidifiers heat up the water, which adds water and heat into your air, which means you're breathing in that water vapor, right? There's some amount of water vapor in your air anytime you're breathing in, some amount of a bunch of cocktail of things, including but not limited to water vapor. So if it's contaminated and you have it in a humidifier, it's not as bad as drinking it, but I still wouldn't think it would be beneficial. I have a lot of questions, but I'm not no water chemist, so I don't know. Yep, if you live anywhere near the Coldwater Creek, all contaminated people are being diagnosed with cancer at high rates. Oh, you use distilled in the humidifier. Okay. All right. I'm following you now. So I'm propagating plants for those of you who are wondering. I have these bunch of nubs. They used to call them wet sticks when COVID was here. And these people would sell these to y'all for $50 because y'all didn't know no better. Y'all remember COVID? I'm going to walk with y'all while I get the stuff I need. Y'all remember COVID? This is how some of y'all look at me because y'all are short. I'm 6'3". Y'all be like, hey, Derek, we love what you do. And I'll be like, thanks, person. Pat on the head. There we go. I don't know how long I've been off. There we go. I somehow switched off of this and couldn't see it. Are y'all still here? But yeah, bingo bongo. I have some propagations in here. I don't know how I switched over. I was talking about y'all being short and then looked and was like, oh, there's nobody here. Because I somehow switched out of the app. I'm wearing rubber gloves, so that's probably why. All my hand is probably like electrical. But I'm going to be propagating these wet sticks. And again, I have some philodendron erubescens that I'm propagating right here. And I'm trying like a water propagation and some kind of sand perlites on the sticks. And I tried again dip and grow just to see how it works and if it's something that I'm really going to enjoy using. So yeah, y'all ask questions as y'all need to. I don't know how I got off of here. There we go. I feel like my whole hand in these rubber gloves is just charged. So I'm propagating plants. I'm about to mix this together. This is again dip and grow. I can't remember how much it was. They're not sponsoring me at all, but I'm gonna use some of this to propagate the plants because it's a liquid, and I'm gonna be trying to do a lot of propagations today to actually get some use out of it. In addition to, I'm gonna be propagating this painted lady, philodendron. She is gorgeous. I got her from Gunter's Greenhouse in Durham. So yeah, propagating plants, answering your questions. Y'all go for it and talk to me. Okay, I fill this up to the line. While I'm doing this, y'all ask questions There's like 2 of y'all here. Ask your questions. You can ask me anything. There's no question off limits. This stuff smells terrible. I've never caught a whiff of that before. Okay, let's see. Nobody's asking questions. Are y'all still here? There's like 1 person here. Can y'all hear me? Can you hear my sound? Can y'all hear me at all? If you can, type something, por favor. Try to make sure I'm all the way to the bottom. I'm growing tomatoes on my balcony. There we go. Good job when you're growing tomatoes on your balcony. So I'm propagating plants. Again, I have these wet sticks. During COVID, I heard they were selling things to you like this. There we go. This is like really gonna bother me. There we go. They were selling things to you like this for $20, right? And you have to grow this. It's amazing what they were allowed to do during COVID. But I'm going to be doing some propagations. For my propagation, I'm trying to make sure I'm centered in the camera here. Again, I'm using like a clay lacquer for some water stuff, but since these don't have leaves, I'm just going to put these into some sand. That's it, just sand and some perlite in a pot. So yeah, ask your questions. Is there a way I can get them to grow bigger than cherry tomatoes? Even my beefsteaks are small. How often are you fertilizing for your tomatoes? If you're not fertilizing your tomatoes heavy, you won't get big boys. In addition to the little flowers, so tomatoes have these little small, I don't even want to say insignificant flowers, but just small kind of droopy flowers. If you pluck some of those off, you can have energy go to the other ones. But if you're not fertilizing, like with a slow release or with a liquid, then you'll get smaller babies because tomatoes are heavy feeders. If you're going to get a slow release, or if you're going to fertilize, I would recommend doing a slow release because, boop, there we go. Slow releases slowly release nutrients into the environment, which is better for the environment overall because that doesn't like do what a water soluble or a liquid fertilizer does, which is immediate and phenomenal. Sometimes we need it, but if you were to like fertilize with like a random blue fertilizer, I'm not going to say by name in case they want to sponsor me one day, and you miraculously put it down, you see what I'm saying? You miraculously put it down and then a rainstorm comes, it'll wash all of that blue fertilizer out into the waterways, which can negatively impact our sea life. And we don't want that if we can avoid it. So, yeah, slow release. Not using fertilizer aside from compost. Compost is not a fertilizer. I know we've been lied to and manipulated to think that that fertilizers are a slow release, but they are not. Fertilizers more so help to support your microbial population in your soil. They don't add much of anything as far as what your plants need because it's tied up for the microbes to get and use. This is why when you're doing compost, they say like carbon to nitrogen or browns to greens because that's your carbon and nitrogen, which goes into your microbial populations, which supports nutrient breakdown, but not your plants directly. Bow. I want to have a garden so bad, but I have no idea where to start. You start at the beginning. Your beginning is you want to have a garden. What do you want to grow? What do you want to eat? What do you want to taste? Do you like rosemary? You like mint? Get a couple of pots of them. Don't put mint in the ground ever. Do you like vegetables? Get you some lettuces, some carrots, some radishes. Radishes are great because they're quick. You get you some tomatoes or bell peppers, right? And you grow those. You get them from your local farmer's market if you can go and just get them beautiful plants, right? You even do something as simple as flowers. Okay, looks like my last song is on that quick. Hey, that dang Washington, thanks for the clarification. Cucumbers, bell peppers, carrots, these are the things you eat. You can grow all of those things. Look at your local cooperative extension office for your area and see what you can grow for your area, in your zone, in your season. That's the word I'm looking for. A lot of you will go to Facebook and just online, and people will be like, this is the time now to grow this. And that tickles me a little bit, but it saddens me because people don't qualify what zone they're living in, what part of the world they're living in, right? In North Carolina, zone 8, formerly zone 7, I right now should be finishing up on my tomatoes, my bell peppers, getting them started or finishing up, and getting ready for my fall crops, right? My leafy greens, my cruciferous, whatever the word is, plants, right? My beets, my radishes, broccolis, things of that nature. I should be getting my brassicas, I should be getting them ready and grown to plant in. But some people who plant fluents won't tell you that, and then you'll have a failure, and then I feel bad for you. I've never tasted a radish. Here's the other thing you can do. This is what I did at one point when I was like, I want to try new vegetables and new fruits. I went to the store, the Harris Teeter, or wherever you can go, your farmer's market, and I just started trying stuff. And when people had things at the job I used to work at, I would just try all their stuff. I bought radishes and tried them, and I did all types of random crazy stuff with radishes. And I had a radish moment. I had radishes all the time. I was almost a radish. I ate so many radishes. And I felt like I was doing something. That was the one thing that kind of made me feel good. So try something new, and then you're like, oh, this is delicious. Figure out if you can grow it in your area. That's good advice, thank you. I try. I need to get this mixed together for these plants. There we go. So I have this pot here. I'm going to put this paper at the bottom so the stuff doesn't come out of the bottom. And we're propagating plants. That's what I've been doing in the background of this. As I've been trying to grab stuff, I thought I had everything I needed, and I didn't. And I at least want to show y'all how I'm doing that with this this stuff here, Dip and Grow. Forgot the name of it. So let me grab my media I'm using, and we'll be good to go. Okay, let's see what else y'all got. Bok choy is tough. Bloomed in December from me 110 Western Carolina. There was some bok choy grown in the community garden I used to go to in Durham, which is the city I'm in. So this is just a mix of sand and perlite. If you find something is tough to grow though, in whatever state you're in, this is where you go to social media, to the forums or cooperative extension and say like, hey, I'm trying to grow such and such and such. Has anybody else ever grown that? Just gonna fill this up without knocking sand everywhere. And I have this kind of craggly mix here. And what I'm gonna do is, just for the sake of doing this, this is my Dip and Grow. I moved it into this container. You put it in here for 3 to 5 seconds. It's like I don't know what the camera is. 3 to 5 seconds. So that is 5. And then once I'm out of it, I'm just going to stick these little knobbly nodes here into my soil. And I'm going to move this into my little greenhouse. So I'm going to do that real quick. I want y'all to ask y'all last couple of questions because I try not to be live too long anymore. I used to go live for an hour or 2 hours. Back in the day, I used to go live for like 5. But I don't do that anymore because ain't no use to me being up here if y'all ain't going to interact. I grew okra in a pot once and only got a single piece. Is that another fertilizer issue? How big was that pot? Okra and your fruits and vegetables, they want a big pot, right? And I'm going to show you something. I'm going to show you something here. I'm going to show you all something. I grow in, what is that thing called? Raised bed, not raised beds per se, but I grow urban garden wise. I grow in my patio. And these things need some water, and I do know. But I have big pots that are growing this lemongrass. I have these other pots that are growing these beautifully big coxcombs or celosias and bee balm and elephant ears and mints and things that are dry and this tomato, right? And I'm growing these in boxes that are relatively big. And you see this? This is my GMO tomato sidebar. You see how beautiful this is? But I'm growing in big pots. If you are not growing in a big enough pot, if you're trying to grow your okra in something this size, you're not going to get a lot because it doesn't have enough root space. This tomato is the main plant in this big pot. And I buried it and I put it in here and it's been late. Hopefully I get a tomato because again, I got some flowers here, but I'm watering and I'm keeping up. This mullein, even though it's just leaves, it takes up a lot of water. It takes up a lot of juice. So what do I have to do to keep this and this bee balm alive? I have to water it a lot when it's in a smaller pot and I have to fertilize a little heavier. Now, at least that's what I should be doing, but I set up my stuff to not have to do all of that extra work because I'm a lazy Bama. But you have to really work hard. So if you're growing an okra, it would have to be in something, a pot this big, which is like 20 inches or so, and bigger. Or a pot like this, which is a wood box, which I think is like 4 feet by a foot by like a foot or something. Something like that, one of these big wood boxes. And then you'd have to have your soil set up to have water, have the right amount of sunlight and everything else. If you don't have all of that, you are dead in the water. And I don't want y'all to be dead in the water if y'all can avoid it. Hope that helps. You said that's your setup. So I'm going to answer one last question. Anybody can answer this one last question as I get ready to get off of this here. Boop, boop. There we go. Get off of this here live. And I'm just propagating plants. We talked about a lot. I showed y'all how to know if some things are healthy or not. I answered a lot of questions. And y'all can watch this like playback here on Instagram or YouTube. There's a playback. So, yeah, one last question, maybe two. I'm going to look at the phone in a second. I'm going to see what y'all got to say. Well, I have been your plant biologist doing a whole lot of plant stuff. If y'all got plant questions, I try to answer all of y'all. I interact with all of y'all. And I'll be back posting content more regularly eventually. I just don't feel it right now. The world is a crazy place. And I have been working through that whole thing over where I should be versus, or I feel I should be, versus what I'm doing in life, and trying to make peace with the person I am versus the person I want to be, and the situation I'm in versus the situation I want to be in. So with that being said, y'all have a beautiful day. Again, I'm propagating some silver sword philodendron. This playback will be up here on Instagram in like a couple of minutes because it just takes time for it to kind of me to type some stuff in and upload it. If you're like, oh, we want to just skim through it on YouTube, it'll be on YouTube in 10 minutes. All my stuff goes to YouTube when I post it, except for pictures. Everything I post, every video I post goes to YouTube. So if you're ever like, I just want to go there, you can subscribe, follow me, like my stuff. I'm going to be propagating. We'll see what happens. So, oh, what type of sand if you're using? You did ask that. This is play sand. You did ask that. I skipped over that question. My bad. Play sand from the Lowe's. I just use play sand. I use play sand especially on the top of my pots. Like if I'm giving a pot away and I know I had a gnat problem or there's potentially gnats or something, I'll put like a layer, an inch, a half an inch to an inch of sand at the top after watering. And that way the gnats can't dig in and lay their eggs. So I also use it in my soil mixes to kind of like break up some of the cocoa core, or the peat moss I use. I've used it in clay mixes that were a little more clayey to break them up. So yeah, play sand. So I'm sure I'm gonna hate this video because I've been like standing off center the whole time. But y'all have a beautiful day. Grow plants. Be happy. Be happy. Be happy. I'm trying to end the video without looking. I guess I'm going to do this.